been consuming a lot of our time the past couple of weeks. So I just wanted to bring you up to speed with where we were. It literally changes day to day, moment to moment. So we're adjusting on the fly and trying to figure it out as we go. And we are basing a lot of what we do in action based off of guidance from particularly the Sullivan County Health Department, but also CDC regulations and or recommendations that they post online. So most recently, just so you're aware, right before the work session began, we sent out a letter, posted it to social media, to our website, sent it to our district listserv. Again, it was a joint communication with Sullivan County and Kingsport schools, so we're all sending the same message. Sullivan County and Bristol are on spring break next week. Kingsport is the week after, and so some of the guidance is really timely regarding travel. So we had been advised by Dr. May not to travel to particular areas. You'll see that in the letter. In particular, Florida was one of those. Our softball team was going to Florida on Sunday. We've canceled that trip and told them that they cannot go. Collectively, the three school districts agreed to not send students to particular areas. There's a couple of states and some regions based on guidance from Dr. May. So that's specified in the letter. We also made recommendations that families that are interested in traveling over spring break and or staff who want to travel over spring break, we are encouraging them to seek advice and guidance from the CDC website, contact the health department if they need to, but to make sure that they are fully informed about where they're traveling and what the guidance is upon their return back to our region. The last thing we want is for folks to go on vacation and then come back to school and not be aware, but inadvertently exposing staff and students to the virus, which then is perpetuating the spread of it, obviously. So we've established a weekly call with Dr. May at the Sullivan County Health Department with the three school districts. We had 2 phone calls with them today. The next one is next week. Those will happen once a week unless they need to happen sooner. So as things pop up, they have been the Sullivan County Health Department, Dr. May in particular, have been extremely supportive and really want to collaborate with us. And so we'll communicate with them as often as necessary. Locally within our school district, we've established different topics that are of need to address, and we've divided that up amongst our administrative team. So they're working on questions around that particular topic and or recommendations around that topic. We're meeting again in the morning to come back and start formulating specific plans in anticipation of whatever could happen. So we don't really know what might happen, but we're trying to prepare for whatever could happen. So that's what we're working toward internally amongst ourselves with our administrators. We are suspending the Be Present campaign for the time being. The CDC's guidance is to avoid attendance incentive programs during all of this. So we want people to stay home if they're sick. So that's been taken care of. I will be meeting with all of the First Tennessee directors of schools tomorrow afternoon. So the First Tennessee region is 17 school districts, essentially from Mountain City to Morristown. All of superintendents or representatives will be meeting just to talk through where everyone is with this and collaborate if necessary. I think that's about it. Those of you working on it, it's really everybody in this room's been working on it, so have I left anything out? Do you all have specific questions for us?
No,
I do.
If the answer to the question, change.
Yeah.
Yes, it is literally changing moment to moment.
I'm sorry, Jeff.
Okay. That's okay. You go ahead.
No, I'm done.
Okay. I was just going to say, first of all, I really appreciate the staff working very hard on that. It's such a fluid situation from day to day. And I'm not real sure if in 7 days we may have different guidelines. that you're having to deal with when the kids come back to school. It is that fluid right now. But I'm just to tell you a personal situation in Hanover County where my grandkids go to school. They have told any of the kids, if they're on spring break, I think in 2 weeks, that if they're anticipating going out of their county, then be prepared to self-quarantine for up to 14 days and to let the schools know so they can prepare work and so forth in case that is the situation. Because as we all know right now, I mean, you know, the health departments cannot test everybody that, you know, that has a concern or a travel concern or anything right now. Maybe that's a change for the better, but the thing you're going to be told is to stay away from people. And I think we need to be prepared, make sure we're totally prepared for that possibility.
And Jim, I'll respond to that in saying that those were our conversations this afternoon. We were not as specific to require, for instance, we wanted to have some guidance for staff in particular, that if they chose to still, our guidance is avoid cruises, all cruises, avoid international travel, and avoid any region in the United States that has confirmed cases of community transmission, which means person to person basically, not that someone came back from a trip and has it in that area, but that someone gave it to someone else unknowingly within the area. And so we do not have that in Sullivan County yet. We have just the one confirmed case that was due to travel. So in our area, no, our Dr. May is saying we are not concerned about our students traveling regionally, for instance, because that's not a concern. But traveling to locations, Florida is one of those, for instance. That's why we canceled that trip. But in any case, getting back to the requirements, we by law, we don't think yet that we can say to a student, you have to stay home. The guidance that we've received thus far is that we can't restrict them from their education, so we are strongly encouraging families to use the guidance and be wise about that, in particular because they can go to an affected area and be exposed to it and not know, and come back and then expose others to it and really not know because of the incubation period and so on and so forth that we've learned from Dr. May. So all of those unknowns, we were strongly encouraging staff and families to consider all of that information either before they travel or if they do travel upon their return so that they can make those informed decisions for themselves. I think if they step off of a plane from an international travel or off of a boat from a cruise, they're going to get that guidance by a piece of paper. Somebody's going to say you should self-quarantine. I'm not sure anybody has required it yet. That's not what we're reading on the CDC website and guideline. I'm not sure how they could police that per se, but so we did have those conversations. I agree with you. I think maybe as early as Monday or Tuesday, our guidance and what Dr. May suggests could be totally different than what it is today. So we are literally taking it one day at a time.
Are we continuing with our spring sports?
We are continuing with spring sports now, as long as they're, it depends on where they are. So I'll say that. It depends. And the 3 school districts have agreed, the 3 superintendents have agreed that we will communicate with one another about where we're allowing that regional travel, or if we're not, so that the others are consistent. We're not going to go to Knoxville, for instance, if Kingsport's not going to.
Yeah, I got you.
So if they, say, a student travels to one of those states that are in that and they decide they want to self-quarantine, so how is the attendance going to be affected by that? Is that
We certainly would count that excused. And we'll have to seek more guidance from the state as far as the Department of Ed regarding some of that. But we would count them obviously as excused absences if we had to count them that way. Our goal and what we're preparing for, we don't have the plans in place yet, but what we're preparing for is being able to offer the instruction remotely so that they can keep up. They're not going to get behind. So we're going to going to be prepared for that. We hope for just those isolated cases, or in the event that we do have to close, if that becomes an option, that we can maintain at least some operational instructional strategies, that sort of thing, that we will try to do that as best we can, as opposed to just shutting down all operations. Does that answer your question?
Has there been any
We
thought,
have a team working on that curriculum in particular.
has there been any thought process, if there's more cases that come up in Sullivan County or Bristol, Tennessee City, with the, one thing that we struggle with at Tennessee High, at least what I've seen over the years, is kids come to school sick because they don't want to take their exams at the end of the semester.
That is one of those attendance incentives, yes, yes.
Have you all thought about what we might,
Yes,
to
we have.
loosen that up so kids won't come to school?
Yes, Kim and her team are working on that and on communication for what that would look like.
Okay, great.
Yep. That was a part of our conversation yesterday in principals. Every day is running together. So just yesterday, that's what the conversation and planning was about.